If you believe a better world starts from within, you're in the right place. Welcome to Hold the Light. I'm Lori Gunning-Grossman, founder of Hold the Light Collective. This is a special series, a guided exploration of the Freedom Transmissions, a spiritual book about building a strong inner foundation so you can show up more authentically in your life and in the world. Let's begin. Shades of Hope, pages 109 through 123. Now we move into Transmission 2. Transmission 2 is called The Wheat and the Chaff, and within this transmission, we begin with the chapter Shades of Hope. The shades of hope are the light form or the shadow form of hope. Whether it is light or shadow, they each have their own energy of hope. So we'll talk about this and how our thought bubbles and fears are connected to it. How we choose to think about things matters. We'll also look at the power of originality, manifestation, the healthy side of separation, and how we are all here as souls having a human experience. This is Shades of Hope. To start, there's something I want to highlight, something that Yeshua addresses at the top of this chapter. In these transmissions, Yeshua's offerings cover many different topics and thoughts, and depending on where you are in your life, some will resonate, some will not. As a matter of fact, you might not even remember having read some words, passages, or paragraphs when you pick up the book a second or third time. This is a phenomenon I've heard many people say, and it's one I've experienced as well. Like I'll open the book to a random page and read something I don't even remember having read before. So Yeshua basically says that this will happen because it all depends on where our awareness is placed on any given day or moment. He says, oftentimes in my offerings, I like to liberate several different birds with one stone. That is why, as you listen to the offering, depending on where you are in your soul's evolution, you can hear and experience very different revelations at different times. So in this chapter, we don't actually get to talking about hope until later in the chapter, although, of course, everything that's discussed does connect and relate to one another. We begin by continuing the conversation around the wheat and the chaff, which we previously talked about in the chapter on the thread and stitching of the dreaming. Essentially, the wheat is our soul, spirit, and consciousness. The chaff is our body, form, and matter. While the chaff has worth, our wheat is worth. We already talked about the two representations of separating the wheat from the chaff. One is through death, when our body returns to the earth and our soul returns to spirit, and the other is separating from anything that doesn't resonate or align with our evolution, like our imbalances. Here, we're reminded that the word separation isn't negative. While, yes, there's a shadow form of separation, like feelings of disconnect, comparison, or unworthiness, there's also a light side of separation. For instance, separation can create choice, and it can create an identity that is separate from the outer world, and it can create space between your ego and your spirit self. Some examples of separation in its light form could be times that you remove yourself from conflict to ground yourself. It could be letting someone go with love. It could be taking space from issues so that you can discern what matters to you. Or it could be unstitching from behaviors or distorted thoughts that keep you in density. It's separating the truth from a story. It's also having the awareness of separation between your soul and your body. And in that space of separation is where you can access that vast, invisible field of infinite possibilities. I believe that it's here where we can create and pull forth our dreams and co-create with the divine. So in this case, recognizing that you are consciousness in form, but you're not limited to your body, is a really great application of separation. And you've heard that quote, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we're being called to treat our bodies well and to be grounded because our souls have chosen to be here right now in our world. We're being encouraged to move away from things that keep us in density. As it says in the book, the next joint, the next credit card, the next car, the next teacher, the next therapist, the next creative idea you never follow through on, the next excuse, the next complaint, the next cookie. And to know when enough is enough. One of the most important aspects of separating the wheat from the chaff is our ability to separate our consciousness from thoughts that create dissonance. Yeshua says in this chapter, "Though I fully understand the challenges of life as a human being, I am continuously baffled by how often you allow the most inconsequential, transient thoughts and worries to consume you." And if and when we find it hard to disentangle ourselves from dense, limiting thoughts, like, "I hate my body," or "I'm doomed to never making enough money," or "this world is out to get me," this is a time to give it over and to ask for help from the divine, because if we don't take space from this thought, it can quickly consume us. It's helpful to be able to start to notice our thoughts throughout the day with as much neutrality as possible. Just notice and witness, as if your thoughts are in a thought bubble floating by. As spiritual guide Byron Katie teaches in her famous 4 questions, when you have a dissonant thought, ask yourself, number 1, is it true? Number 2, can you absolutely know that it's true? Number 3, how do you react when you believe that thought? And number 4, who would you be without that thought? So right now, we're in an era of our soul, the soul that lives in balance, transparency, fluidity, and co-creation. As the book says, this is not a time of the mind or the heart. This is a time of the soul, the spirit. Our souls are taking back their power from our minds. The wheat is our need, and the more we can be aware of our thoughts and release attachments to our thoughts that make up the story of who we think we are, the more our unmet need for peace is met. And here's something to be aware of. The majority of fear-based, repressive, suppressive, or oppressive thoughts or ideas that we have are not always ours to own, meaning our thoughts don't often come from us. They slip in from the outside. We've taken on the thoughts of others throughout our life, including family, friends, partners, school, communities, and work. As it says in the book, many thoughts are fed to you or manipulated by outside influences. So we learn that if we don't have the inner process of discernment, awareness, witnessing, and taking healthy separation from the yours and mine, it can poison you with doubt, which then leads to distortion, reactions, and the administration of the poison to others, like a virus infecting a host. We learn something dissonant, we believe it, and then we pass it on. And the more we feed these thoughts through our own worry, panic, anger, or the need to control, the more power these thoughts will have over us. This is why it's important for us to have healthy boundaries around what we read, watch, listen to, or the circles of people that we keep. It's important for us to be aware of protecting our brain and energy space. It's important to have separation. It's important to have awareness and curiosity on how thought forms slide into our heart, mind, and soul. Allowing others to dictate how we think and feel, while easy to fall into, is deeply unoriginal. So how can we move into originality? Well, first, it's to be aware of our connection to a greater consciousness. I want to read this passage on page 118, which speaks to originality and creation. Original thought and original God-anointed mantles come through slow evolution, gestation, and birthing of something from the realm, the space, the void of infinite possibilities. You pluck a possibility, an original idea or concept, stitch to it, gestate it, and when ready, it comes to your awareness, it reveals. Your heart lights, and then your mind takes whatever this seed, this concept is, and it begins to move it into realization and manifestation. That is original creation. That does not come from form. It comes from the space of spirit, from the wheat, and flows outward into the world. So it sounds amazing, right? However, sometimes what happens is that we take this inspired idea that we've plucked from that vast invisible field of possibilities, and we try to shove it into unoriginal structures. We try to place it in something that feels safe, like following guidelines of what's been done before. However, as it mentions in the book, authentic creativity merits authentic structures. So we are now being encouraged to get out of the rut of complacency and start co-creating with originality within the realm of the divine. There's one more passage I have to read because it's one that I think of often, and it's what encouraged me to create this book study of the Freedom Transmissions on this podcast. This is how it goes. If you wish to be original, instead of striving for the macro, the more and more, the glistening of fame and power, first strive for less and less. Refine your message, concept, expectations, and the true essence of your service. With patience and allowing, you'll be well on your way. The structure that is simple, original, and fulfilling of unmet needs instead of filling your ego's wants will reveal itself naturally from there. That is the true divine originality manifest within you. Back to the idea of bringing awareness and curiosity on how thought forms affect us. This is going to bring us into the shades of hope. So to live our lives from our wheat, our soul, and not just from our chaff or body, we're being asked to bring awareness to our daily moments. Awareness is the first step to transforming and rebalancing our mind and to move us deeper into living in our authentic, original design. The biggest thing that's being asked of us here, it's to seek to be ourselves. When we allow fearful thinking such as anger, worry, panic, dissatisfaction, ingratitude, it keeps us from living in the present moment. Instead, we find ourselves trying to control the future while letting ourselves be dictated by the past. Essentially, we're in a loop where the past predicts our future. In these moments, we are a fly in the web of life instead of being a spider. We are living the same stories, feelings, triggers, and thought patterns over and over until we wake up, stop the cycle, and move ourselves into present moment awareness. As author and researcher Joe Dispenza says, the best way to predict the future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. And this is where hope comes in. Depending on how you express it, hope can either be a wonderful energy when used in the present, or it can be a massive burden when projected out of the present. When focused in the now, hope can catalyze healing and balance. An example the book gives is to say, in this moment, I am hopeful and full of hope for humanity. Or, I have hope that even though this relationship is ending, all can be left in harmony, compassion, and kindness. But when hope leaves the present and is rooted in the past, which are regrets, or the future, which are wants, you may find yourself saying something like, I hope this person will change for me, or I had hoped that things would have worked out better for me in my life. Dead hopes, like regrets, are burdens. True hope restores vitality and inspiration. Hope that is moved out of the present and projected into the future and becomes about tomorrow or want is in its shadow form of expectation. For example, if you use or buy this, you will be this. Or if you earn this amount of money, then you are worthy. So as you can see, the shades of hope, light or shadow, depend on if hope is in the present or in the past or future. And we learn that the divine has hope. The divine hopes that we will be ourselves, that we separate ourselves from what everyone wants us to be, say, or do, or even what our mind wants us to be, so that we can be the original soul and spirit that we are. As we come to the end of this chapter, we're left with a question from Yeshua. He asks, do you hope that God is with you or know that God is with you? Sit with this question because within it is a rite of passage. It is the question that moves us from personal identity to transcendence, we identity. To quote, "When you know to the depths of your being that God is with and within you, it is easy to hold hope in the present and release all expectations, for you have all you need, which is God. Within the light, all things are possible." As for hope, this is a time for us to restore our hope in its true divine essence, which is rooted in grace, compassion, and sincerity, such as, "I hope God is with this ill person and their family. I hope society recognizes this kind person." Or, "I hope to see my family for the holidays this year, and that we will all be healthy and happy." This is hope and kindness and love. As the book says, choose the hope that flows from faith. When hope becomes a prayer for joy, not just for you, but for all, the earth moves. Here's your focus until the next episode. Read or reread Sacred Seeds found in Part 2, The Freedom Transmissions, Transmission 2, The Wheat and the Chaff, pages 124 through 145. If you have the audiobook, listen to the Yeshua meditation at the end of the chapter at the 42:49 mark in the second part of the chapter's audio recording. In the audiobook, listen to the Sacred Seeds found in Part 2, The Freedom Transmissions, Transmission 2, The Wheat and the Chaff. All links and information are in the show notes. Thanks all. Keep holding the light. If this series is resonating with you, I'd love to stay connected. Visit holdthelightcollective.com to sign up for my weekly newsletter, Build the Light. It's where I share good news for the soul, plus my latest events and offerings. All links are in the show notes. And if this podcast has meant something to you, the most generous thing you can do is share it with someone. Hold the Light is produced by me, Lori Gunning-Grossman, with additional producing and sound design by Jonathan Grossman, who also wrote our original theme music. Until next time, keep holding the light.